Thanks, you guys. Thank you. Hello again. My pathway to healing and recovery involved mind, body, and spirit, just like Cornerstone teaches. And I've been reading a lot about y'all. I can say y'all because I'm from Kentucky, and I can't say it in California. I lived there for 16 years, so I'm going to say y'all a lot today. This feels good. But it's, oh man, it's amazing what you guys do. Incredible program. I'd say I'm sure it's very unique and not any like it in the whole country that I know of. But I cheated a little bit and showed you a video so I could give you a bit of a window into my story without having to tell you the whole story myself. But I got diagnosed with severe eating disorder, specifically anorexia, in my early 20s. And I went downhill really fast. My skin was turning gray, and my teeth were turning black and rotting out. I really had no life. I had no personality. I had no vibrance or joy. I didn't have anything in my life. I spent most of my time alone in my room. I was pretty much dying from the inside out. And along with that, lucky me, came a aggressive cocaine dependency as well. And my journey out of what I definitely call hell and into my Olympic life was a process, to say the least. Anyone who's been through recovery, if it's anything, it's a process. So there were a million takeaways that I learned along that journey that shape who I am today, and I really feel are a significant part of who I am as a human. But there's just a couple of those takeaways, because we'd be here for 14 days if we went through all of them, that I really want to hit on and share with you guys. As you could see in the video, cycling was a significant and integral part of my recovery and therapy. I didn't find it until the very end of my recovery when, like I said, my therapist said, you know, I want you to pick something as far as being able to move your body again in a healthy way. It doesn't have to be a sport, but something exercise-like where you can move and have a bit of that endorphin release again. And I said, well, I think I'll choose cycling and try it out. And I got a raggedy old mountain bike and just started riding it literally, like, you know, around on the street. God forbid we actually go to the mountain on the mountain bike. Just rode around on the streets, and I love the way it made me feel. It was like, for the first time in so long, I felt just free again and just able to kind of be myself and really true to my nature. So I just kept going. I mean, I just basically didn't stop. I loved it, and I did the California AIDS ride. I signed up for that charity ride. It goes from San Francisco to Los Angeles, and the route they take isn't direct, so it's about 700-mile route, and it's about 7 days. And I was on said mountain bike, and I was hanging with the guys at the front of the ride every day, and at the end they said, you know, that's really not normal for you to just have started riding and you're on a mountain bike and we're on the road, and you should try a race. You should probably sign up and try a race. So I did, and I literally, I mean, it's just almost bizarre because I just kept going. Like 12 years later, I was blessed enough to be able to go to the Olympics. So just keep fighting. Never give up is that moral of that. But in order to be great at cycling in that, you know, 12, 13, 14, 15-year journey, there were more than a few roadblocks that I had to deal with. But a couple of them that were huge for me were overcoming fear and also overcoming the fear and being afraid to suffer again, right? Because in our addiction and in our recovery, there's a lot of suffering involved. But what truly do those two things really mean? And I want to dive into those with you, and that's what I want to cover today. And for me, in the very beginning, it meant that I first and foremost had to become vulnerable. I found just this incredible power and solace out of a wretched near-death life in embracing vulnerability, and it really shaped who I am today. Now, there's many layers of psychological research that tell us that the ability to connect with one another and connect with people here on this planet is why we are here. It really is true that if we can't connect, we are dead, which is why they use solitary confinement as a form of torture. We were truly born to connect with one another. But in order for us to be connected, we have to be vulnerable, because we have to allow each other to see each other with all of our flaws and all of our insecurities. We have to be able to strip down our barriers that all of us are holding up, and we have to be able to take off the masks and say, yeah, this is really me underneath it all. But there's things that, for me, and I'm sure for you guys too, that it keeps you from doing that, because it's scary to do that. You know, you want to kind of hold up this way about you, and a lot of us that struggle with addiction tend to be kind of type A. I don't know if you guys know that, but real perfectionist in everything that we do, so we kind of hold up this mask. And I found that, like I said, it was fear and then being afraid to suffer. And fear really is the inhibitor of your true self, because we think, you know, if people really found out who I really am inside, and they knew about all my insecurities, they wouldn't want to be friends with me, they wouldn't want to connect with me, they wouldn't want to know me. But in order to be able to eliminate that fear that we hold, we have to embrace vulnerability. And it's certainly not, it's not easy, and it's not pretty, but it's necessary. We have to be willing to do something where, you know, there's no guarantees. There's never any guarantees in life. And when I decided that I was going to go for the Olympic journey, which probably about 3.5 years out, I realized, okay, I have a shot. I think I might have a shot at making the team, which just sounded crazy to me. As you guys know, coming from the depths of your addiction, you just want to be able to live, and you just want to be able to thrive as a person, much less thinking of something, you know, like a big goal, something that would be kind of grand like the Olympics. But when I really decided, okay, you know, I have this chance, and people are telling me, you know, you have to go for this, you really have a chance to make the team, there was an immense amount of pressure, and I had to really embrace that vulnerability that I had learned to embrace. And there were so many times during training that I was, you know, not the best on the team, not the second best, not the third best, not the fourth best. I mean, it was like I'm scraping along, and there was a lot of fear. You know, I still had those voices living in my head that, you know, you're not worthy, you can't do this, who are you kidding, is this a joke? You know, all those voices are talking to me, and I was exhausted a lot of the time. I was injured many times. I'd broken my collarbone 3 times from cycling. And I just felt worthless so much of the journey, but I knew you have to keep pressing on. You have to keep overcoming, because you're not going to make it to the Olympic start line if at any time during this journey that you're feeling so down and bad about yourself, if you stop, that's it. You quit, and you won't make it to the Olympic start line. And over the weeks, the past couple weeks in coming to talk with you guys, I found myself in a few conversations in which the unspoken assumption is that the main goal in life is to maximize happiness, right? And that's normal. When we talk about the future, we almost always talk about the good times and the good experiences that we wish to have or we want to have. And we live in a culture awash with talk about happiness. How do we find happiness? How do we seek, you know, happiness? And last year on Amazon, in just a 3-month period of time, there were over 1,000 books released on this very subject, how to find happiness. But I thought it's interesting, if you notice this phenomenon, when people remember the past, they don't talk about happiness. It's often the ordeals and the suffering and the pain that seems so significant to them. People shoot for happiness, but we all feel formed through suffering. That's what makes us who we are. And I think it's first because suffering drags you deeper into yourself. I mean, it really does. It helps you to understand what you're actually truly made of. And then also, suffering gives us a more accurate sense of ourself, right? We really find out in those dark times what we're capable of, what we can really accomplish, what we can really do. And through that, it develops this incredible amount of self-esteem, and it grows, and the confidence grows. And it's incredible when you go after something that seems impossible to you at first and you accomplish it. And it's inside, I feel like it's like inside of that atom of suffering that we can really locate and find our greatness. It's not in the happy times. But we have to allow ourselves to do that. And there's a great researcher named Brene Brown, and she's done a ton of research on the issue of vulnerability. And when she was about halfway through one of her research projects on it, she realized that she too had a vulnerability issue, like everyone in the world. And so she went to see a therapist and said, I need help with my vulnerability issue. And what she learned from the therapist is that vulnerability lives at the core of shame and of fear and of unworthiness. But here's the deal. It appears that it's also the birthplace of joy, of creativity, of longing, and also of love. And I found that I had to surrender to it and walk into it. It's like try it on, right? To come out strong on the other side. But why do we struggle with it so much? Because it is such a struggle to really be able to be vulnerable and lay it on the line. And so I thought I would ask the ever-reliable Facebook this question, because they're great at giving good answers. So I asked Facebook, why is vulnerability so difficult? Why do we struggle with it so much? And there's a few answers that people gave. One person said, when you are not in control, the consequence is either physical or emotional pain. And they said it's a horrible feeling. And what I surmised from that is that we hate feeling out of control. There's that type A again, we want this stance of ourselves, and we hate when things feel out of our immediate control. Someone else said, for me, it's being accessible to transparency and truth. We struggle with it because you may not always like what you see, find, or feel. And from that, I thought, vulnerability is uncomfortable, right? It's just like it doesn't fit right, and it just feels uncomfortable to us. And one other person said, sharing any piece of ourselves leaves us vulnerable, and we struggle because we have been hurt in the past. And I thought, sometimes we're not open to being vulnerable because we've been hurt in the past, and it's like we don't want to go back there again. But what really rings loud and clear to me from those answers is that vulnerability is just plain difficult. And why is that? It's because it makes us feel. And we struggle with addiction because in overcoming it, in healing, we have to feel. And that's what we've been avoiding the whole time. And I always say, however you're numbing it out, it's like pick your poison, right? Inner pain, we go drugs, alcohol, eating disorders, sex, whatever it is, that's just the poison. It's really just a symptom of what's going on in your inner pain. And so we try to numb out the pain, right? Numb it. But we can't selectively numb. And that is like, wow, I didn't really necessarily think about that before. As humans, we can't selectively numb. Just like you can't spot train in the gym, bummer. No, it's like the whole body. So we try to numb out those yucky feelings. That's what we're doing. We want to kill the pain and the agony and the suffering. But then here's the problem. What do we also numb out? We also numb out our joy, and we numb out our purpose, and we numb out love, and we feel empty. And then the cycle continues over and over. So how do we live and thrive and be vulnerable? Well, there's two things that I found, and these are the two things that I hope that you guys take with you today. I found that we do it by feeling and being worthy. Number one is by doing something that matters, something that makes a difference in the life of someone else, and something that drives passion for change and growth for somebody else. So it's getting out of your own head, right? And getting out of your own situation for the time being, and being with someone else in their pain, and dealing with someone else's suffering, and helping them and loving on them, because perspective is everything. And number two is by doing something that scares you, right? Really, that scares you almost every day or every week or however often, but really challenges you and makes you act on commitment and makes you act on perseverance. Because commitment and perseverance build character and hope. And with hope, we can do anything we set our mind to. And I don't want you guys to take my word for it, right? Because Romans 5:3-5 says this. Not only so, but we also glorify in our sufferings. Glorify. Because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. And if you'll notice, Romans 5:3-5 does not say, seek happiness and glorify happiness and you will be fulfilled and given hope. No, it says glorify in your sufferings. Because to me, when you feel worthy, you start to feel purpose-filled. And when you feel purpose-filled, you feel confident. And then when you start feeling confident, you begin to get brave. And you take chances, and then you're vulnerable, and you can really open up your life to never-ending possibilities. Because here's the deal, when you put yourself out there, when you really become vulnerable and you do it and you do it again and again, the more you do it, the more comfortable it becomes, which is nice. And when you achieve what you set out to do, it's all the more sweeter. You guys remember that many people take their greatness and they take their ideas to the graveyard with them. And I know all of you teenagers out here feel like the graveyard is a long way away, but I'm old, and I am, especially for going to the Olympics. And it's sooner than we think. And so don't think, well, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it next year, or I'll do it in 5 years. Because the wealthiest place on the planet, as they say, is the graveyard, where inventions lie that we never knew, and ideas that we never fulfilled. We never acted out on it. Because people didn't want to put themselves out there, right? And they didn't want to suffer, and they didn't want to go through the muck and the yuck of life. They didn't want to fail. They didn't want to hurt. We don't want to hurt. They just simply wanted to feel happy. So my challenge to you guys today is, I want you to do something that matters, truly matters in the lives of someone else. Make a difference in their lives. Do something every day that challenges you and makes you face your fears, that makes you act on your commitment to yourself that you made, and set challenging and healthy goals that you can only achieve through commitment and perseverance. Because what's our greatest fear, as Marianne Williamson so famously says? Our deepest fear is truly not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful, powerful beyond measure. And it's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And your playing small in the world does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure about you. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give light to those around us. And as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically will liberate others. Thanks for having me today, you guys. I really enjoyed being here. And thank you so much to the Fondrens for their hosting me and picking me up.